Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened, but it kicked me out when so we're live now, but it doesn't matter. I will erase it. Apologies.
That's all good.
Yeah. Hi. Joining me in studio today is Victoria Price Doucette, and she is in Portland, Oregon. Hi, Victoria. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you? Thank you for having
I'm
me.
very good. Very nice to finally meet you.
Likewise.
Can you tell us briefly about your company, Strategy, and your journey?
Sure.
Briefly.
Yeah, so I'm the CEO and co-founder of Stratasy Technology, and we build software that helps people make sense of the vast volume of seafloor data that is being collected. Right now, we're really, really good at collecting seafloor data for things like safety of navigation, habitat mapping, offshore wind, infrastructure, construction, inspection, military operations. There's all of this different sensor data, but we're really terrible at turning it into timely, usable intelligence. And with the rise of autonomous vehicles, we're getting more and more and more data. And so analysts are overwhelmed, critical decisions are delayed. And so our product Feature Lab is an AI platform that allows users to build and train and then deploy their own custom computer vision models on their data offline so that they can solve their problems faster. And so we work across hydrography, offshore wind, defense, where trust in your analytics, explainability is really important, and you're in difficult operating environments, disconnected environments. And at the end of the day, we're not trying to replace human expertise. We're trying to give experts their time and judgment back. I spent a lot of time in my career as an operator, as an analyst in this field, drawing boxes around, boulders and targets, things that would obstruct where we're constructing an offshore wind turbine, for example. And that was certainly not the best use of my time. And as that volume of data has grown, the workforce just hasn't grown to keep up with it. And so we wanted to really be able to solve that problem of helping the workforce actually scale and meet those growing needs. So that was where we started. We started our company, actually exactly a year ago. It was January of 2025, and it has been a wild ride so far.
Yeah, super exciting. And it really seems that you're helping the maritime industry in a big bottleneck to, like, because you don't need to be an expert, right? To understand. I don't know how to say it, but um, with this AI technology, I guess you don't need to be machine learning or have a machine learning expertise, but this helps to detect or identify what are they seeing
Exactly.
underwater, right? So it's kind of you're in the backstage of the autonomous future in a
Exactly.
way,
Yeah.
which is super exciting.
We really looked at it as really as democratizing AI. So we were putting it
Yes.
in wrapping all of this complexity in a very, very simple workflow for users that anybody could use. And I always laughed that our CFO, who has no experience in this space whatsoever, was training models, and he was ecstatic. He's like, "I am a machine learning scientist now," and but that was really the level of simplicity that we were going for, so that anybody could harness this technology without having to make huge investments in data science teams, and those sorts of efforts don't really adapt and scale at the pace that our operating environments really need them to.
Yeah, it's a fascinating world, mapping, and the seabed, understanding the seabed is just incredible. So I'm super excited to learn more about how this happened. But with regards to your future and looking years ahead, what legacy would you like to leave behind? How would you like to be remembered?
This is a tough one. um, I think about it in sort of two ways. Where for the company, what we've seen in the last couple of years has really been a lot of emphasis on autonomy. Thinking about like collision avoidance, command and control, how we operate and drive autonomous vehicles, and what we are really looking to really shape the future of and mold is sensing autonomy and making platforms smart. And so really changing, kind of driving a paradigm shift around
Mm,
autonomy means intelligence, not just driving vehicles around. From, I would say, from a personal level, I think that women, we both know that women in this space, in leadership positions are few and far between. And so if
yeah.
I could play any sort of role in breaking down those barriers and making it less of an extraordinary thing in the future, and normalize it a bit more,
Mm.
then that's very much a big driver for me.
Yeah, huge. And I think that's linked to the next question, which is what made you, or what was a driver for you to start your own company? What clicked? Obviously, maybe a lot of frustration while you were in the other side of the story, kind of facing the problem. But can you tell us briefly what happened that you say, "Oh my God, I need to come with a solution to this"?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of a confluence of factors. So I had been working in this space as a scientist, for hydrographic survey companies and research, and I am really passionate about leadership and strategy. And it was becoming really clear at the time, and this is almost a decade ago, that those opportunities were not really available to women, not broadly, not accessible to me. And so I
Mm.
actually took a weird career diversion where I went to Nike. And I was at Nike for many years, where I came to Nike as a consultant in technical product management, and took the concepts of total propagated uncertainty from hydrography and built a supply chain uncertainty model. And then, like, that was it. I ended up being the director of supply chain analytics and innovation at Nike. And through all of that, really got a lot of that exposure, that experience in terms of like executive communication, strategic thinking, strategic planning,
Mhm.
all of that exposure that I was never going to get in this space. And
Yeah.
started, and I really missed this industry, and was working with a team in Europe that was doing offshore survey, and they were trying to use autonomous vehicles, and there was this incredible bottleneck that was happening from an analysis standpoint. So they were investing a ton of money in autonomous surface vehicles, and then seeing almost zero ROI, because
Mm.
they were collecting all this data, but they still didn't have the workforce to actually go through, analyze it and do all the reporting and that sort of thing. And so I realized that there was this opportunity to really be able to start something new in this space and take all of that experience that I'd had from a very different industry, at a very different lens, as well as my passion and my background, and start Stratasy.
That's incredible. And what was the biggest challenge? Kind of, I understand the transferable or the interest of this experience, and you kind of transfer your skills into kind of different worlds, but you kind of get also exposure to other things that maybe they're making you a little bit more whole now as an entrepreneur. But what was kind of the biggest challenge understanding this process, or a surprise by doing this, that you say like, oh wow, I didn't know that I needed this? Or
it's hard to pick one of like, oh, I didn't know I needed this, because every day I'm like, I need adult supervision. Like this is terrifying.
yeah,
I astound myself every day with what I don't know. And I've been very, very lucky to have incredible mentors and advisors along the way for all of the things, all the financial modeling, and, what do fundraising terms mean, and all of that. And I think the thing that was really kind of caught me the most off guard, that was the biggest challenge, was from a fundraising standpoint. I had gotten feedback that, and not often, but some of the VCs that we talked to had given feedback that they expected me to be, a shark, expected me to be more aggressive and flashy.
yeah,
And it really became clear that there's very much a gendered expectation of how founders should show up.
agree.
And what was really frustrating was that, when male founders are quiet, measured, I'm a technical founder, they're, quiet geniuses, they're strategic, they're whatever. And when women show up the same way, it's framed as a lack of edge. And I'm a strategist. I think long term, I think chess. And so there were
Yes.
a lot of moments where I genuinely wondered, like, am I cut out for this? Am I the right personality type? How
Mm,
different would those conversations have gone if they were talking to my co-founder, who is a male?
yes.
And so that was a tough sort of like mental framing, and how I see myself to evolve through.
Yeah, maybe dealing with your inner dialogue and self-doubt. It's kind of our worst enemy
Yeah.
sometimes. And I find it very interesting because I also was in a similar industry, or in a very different industry, but like being in Nike is kind of like a very fun, uh, cool company, right? But the ocean, it doesn't have the same kind of marketing, or it doesn't have the
Yeah.
same kind of vibe, that I think that it's people like you um, have the knowledge and the experience to kind of transform an industry from within, with a lot of kind power and wisdom, I think, or that's the way I see it,
Yeah.
which is very refreshing, and it's really inspiring to see.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm super
It,
excited.
it's actually
um
a really good point, because that was one of our other big challenges, really around fundraising. A lot of the VCs are, especially the generalist VCs, are used to very like flashy, sorry, SaaS models. And we got a lot of, I don't believe the market size is that big, because I don't see it. And it took a lot of iterations of like, okay, how can we frame this to help people understand that the blue economy is $3 trillion in value,
mm,
and nothing moves on or in the ocean without the data that we serve. And so that was very much a process, but it was very true, where it was hard to really, it took a lot of refinement for learning how to tell the story so that the ocean was sexy to everybody.
yeah, I like that. Ocean needs to be sexy. And I think the name of your company, it's amazing. Like, it's kind of strategizing the sea, right? Like, and what a best way to do it, that with data, and data is power.
Yeah,
And that you're
exactly.
facilitating and, as you're saying, democratizing the way of people understanding the data on your own terms, on your own skills or frame or mission or whatever. Like, it's possible, and that opens a completely new game and a window of opportunity for accessibility for a lot of things to discover and see in the ocean. So it's super interesting.
Love that.
And in your journey, who supported you early on? Who were the kind of door openers that believed in you and pushed you forward?
This is one where I I actually have a like hug list, and I'm not a touchy feely person, so these are people who like have had just a profound impact, and they span folks from the Pacific Northwest Defense Coalition Center,
Mm.
folks that we've been just introduced to along the way who thought what we were doing was cool and thought we were great, and so became evangelists and became sounding boards and shoulders to lean on, and but also helped kind of spread the word. And there's so many to name. Some specific examples, like I said, the folks from Pacific Northwest Defense Coalition who helped us get into the NATO Diana program, encouraged us to apply,
Mhm.
and kind of coached us through, what do we need to represent there. Um, our early investors, our lead investor has become the most incredible mentor for me. I view him as family more than an investor at this point.
Mm.
Um, I think that hug list is probably like 30 people plus long at this point, and it grows every day. But
Amazing.
I think one of the things that has become really evident is, you know, take every meeting, and obviously within reason. Like, I know the CEO in me is like, no, that's terrible from a time management standpoint. But I've had some really surprising interactions from meetings that were kind of out of the blue or kind of out of left field that ended up becoming folks who are collaborators in unexpected ways, or just champions and friends. And so that has been one of the things that's really kept us going through this.
Yeah. Good surprises on the way.
Yeah.
Yes. That's really nice. And thinking, scaling your needs and your dream scenario, who could be your ideal partners or customers or investors for your next milestone to have on board in your company?
Partners are part of our model is really we want to work with everybody, and so we're building out a really wide like sensor partner network and vehicle and platform partner network. I think some of our we have some amazing partners already, and we're in ongoing conversations with some amazing partners. I think are sort of North Stars that like I would love to work with, the Kraken Robotics, Kongsberg, um, Sail Drone. Um,
Yes.
there's so many because there's so much amazing science and technology
Totally.
operationalizing that's happening in this space. From an investor standpoint, I think our dream is really In-Q-Tel, because they have so much perspective on thinking outside the box and bringing innovation to venture capital backed businesses, and how to do that well, and how to do that in a way that really opens more doors and continues to expand that horizon.
Hmm. Yeah, good names there, and they're all kind of betting on autonomous operations,
Yeah.
not only in the mapping, seabed mapping, but also kind of the defense area, which are kind of the two maybe fields that you operate. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
definitely.
Mm, yeah.
And one of the things that's interesting is there's a lot of overlap where
Yes.
it's an easy space to be dual use in, because
Mhm.
the sensors are similar or the same, the workflows are similar. It's different scales and looking for different things, and so that's been really advantageous, but also really exciting as we kind of brainstorm and work with different partners and start connecting those ecosystems in ways that we maybe wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
Yeah. what I found very interesting, I was briefly in Kongsberg Discovery, and I remember being so fascinated about the way mapping is done, and I saw it or understand it like a little bit like an orchestra, where
Mm-hmm.
all the technologies kind of work together and kind of complement each other in a way in certain operations.
Yeah.
And that was mind blowing. And kind of your technology fits in within those,
Yeah.
kind of in the melody of that,
Yeah.
of that orchestra. And it's so many interesting things still to be discovered, that we don't have a clue yet that could be done, but only with kind of collaboration, partnerships, conversations, and also trusting technology. For example, with AI, that is a big gap maybe with the user trusting. It needs to be the human factor, as you were saying, but also
Definitely.
you need to trust, or teach the technology to follow your lead in a way. So it's also kind of like a balancing a new relationship with the autonomy of the future. Yeah, I don't know.
I love that. I love that analogy of all of the different, you know, instruments in an orchestra. And I think now I'm like, oh, I think
Yeah,
Feature Lab is essentially we're taking all of those different instruments and the notes they're playing and turning them into a melody that makes sense to an operator.
yeah.
And to your point around the explainability and that trust, that is one of our core tenets is really to de-black box AI and to bring as much transparency as possible to operators so that they understand why decisions are being made. They have full visibility into to performance. There's auditability. Like that's extremely critical in this space. And I think it's something that there's a lot of science that's evolving to really enable that.
Mm, yeah. It's kind of pivoting the future.
Yeah.
Um, and what kind of resources do you need to accelerate your next stage? What would be the one thing that make a big difference for it?
This is this is hard. Everything. um, you know, we're in the we've raised our first institutional round, and now it's like, okay, how do we be the best stewards of that money? And so that's like my day to day. Okay, how am I prioritizing? How is that shifting? And I think the big thing for us, where it would be the biggest accelerator, is additional help with sales. We have a reseller model in our OEM partnerships that are extremely valuable. They're so helpful and they give us a ton of reach globally. You know, they're out to sea with our customers and that is reach that's really, really hard to get hiring an FTE, you know, internally based in one location geographically. So that's something that
Mm,
we're really thinking through is how do we take that next step from a sales and go to market standpoint so that we can scale just our reach, right? We launched our product in July and there's always that sort of curve of getting your name out there, getting some of that, getting to be known by the space. And
mm,
my co-founder and I have been in the space for a long time in other endeavors. And so we are known, but our company really isn't. And so how do we it's really just broadening that reach. I think that's the big unlock for us. And so we're thinking through how do we do that with a very constrained operating budget at the moment. How do we get
yeah,
creative? And
yeah,
that's our biggest challenge right now. Also,
yeah. That it's possible.
yeah.
So, uh, kind of trying to go deeper on this. How can the Ocean Opportunity Lab support you on this, um, in this stage that you are? Does it need a pilot for you to offer a company to test the technology, or how is the process for you to showcase the technology that
So
you
right now
offer?
we do typically work with customers on like an initial pilot. This is very often the kind of tech and the space where somebody's not going to invest a fairly significant amount of money into something that's unproven. And so we do evaluations and so pilots, use cases. If you've got an idea uh, that you think machine learning and computer vision might help you accelerate, then we'd love to talk about it. I
Mm.
think, if you're in the autonomy space, thinking about, your end, a lot, so much of the conversation around autonomy involves, vehicles that that are out for longer. There's, longer duration, more endurance, more speed, whatever.
Mm.
What is like the actual, what are they doing with the data that those sensor payloads are collecting? And so connecting the dots a little bit further. And we're here to partner on that. And so I think there's a little bit of a shift in thinking from an autonomy standpoint, but I think the biggest help is just ideas. And, if there is something that you want to try out and do a pilot, then that would be a tremendous lift as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's I have a few ideas, but we can talk about it later. And with regards to your strength through vulnerability, do you have any personal or professional challenge that you face? And how did you work it through? And what did you learn?
Oh, there's so many. I kind of touched on the imposter syndrome a little bit earlier. I think the biggest challenge, really day to day for me, I have ADHD, and it's something that is very much my superpower and how I think about the world and kind of see. It's why I've always been really into strategy. I'm able to kind of see things from all angles. When you're a CEO of a startup and you need to be answering emails all the time, and it's really really long work days full of tasks that might not be very engaging to you, then it can get really really challenging. And so having kind of like trying different ways of structuring my day and like what works, what doesn't, when am I most able to kind of harness that like hyper focused state,
Mm.
is an ongoing experiment a little bit. But
Mm.
I would say the biggest, there's things that I've forgotten that I needed to do, and I have so many post-it notes that then they like fall off my wall, and so it's an ongoing challenge. But my co-founder is great. Like we try body doubling. He is always trying to remind me of stuff to the point that I get kind of annoyed, but secretly I'm grateful for it. Um, and the biggest lesson has really just been be kind to myself and give myself some grace in that everybody goes through this, not just folks who are neurodivergent, and that beating myself up about it isn't going to change the outcome. It's not going to magically fix me. And so giving myself the grace and the space to continue to experiment, to find what works, and also to shift, because what works one day might not work the rest.
Mm.
And I think there's so much, especially women and girls with ADHD, it's often missed as a diagnosis, and we often beat ourselves up, and we expend so much energy masking. And to just be aware of that and accept it,
Talk
and
about it.
yeah, talk about it very much.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Open the or break the barriers on it's not a weakness. I think it's, as you say, it's a total superpower if you have identified it and you know what it is. You just need to keep the balance on your everyday prioritizing and kind of aware of your well-being.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's amazing you have kind of the counterbalance with a co-founder that it's a man. So it's also kind of a different perspective for both of you to kind of keep the yin yang
Yeah.
afloat, which is it can be challenging, but it's also very rewarding for the everyday life. And it seems you have like a super nice community of not only your co-founder but your kind of mentors, supporters, partners. So,
Yeah, I
and it's
do.
been
And
just 1 year.
it has been. It's 2025 was a heck of a decade. It felt like
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
the amount that we learned and that I learned about myself and running a business was really astronomical. But I'm also so grateful for the connections and then the community and the ecosystem for sure.
Yeah, yeah. You can't continue without it. That's
Yeah,
that's the way we need to operate.
yeah.
And paying it forward, uh, um, what can you offer to other entrepreneurs that are kind of in similar stages or about to start? What can you offer them?
I
Uh,
am always in an open door, an open ear for just to vent, to mentor. I used to do leadership coaching when I was at Nike, and so I am always here to connect with anybody who just needs a safe space to talk about stuff. To kind of share experiences, and there I feel like there's always a need for a community for commiseration when you're a founder. On a more formal level, it's something that my co-founder and I have always dreamed of doing, and not quite there yet, but in the future, hopefully, is being able to do like a scholarship program for women in the marine and ocean space who are, scientists who want to potentially pursue like an MBA or get that kind of leadership experience, business experience to really be able to branch out on their own and take on entrepreneurial endeavors.
Amazing. Yeah, we follow up on that one.
Excellent.
Yeah. And if you could kind of lift up another women in your journey, female founder, who would that be and why?
There's so many. The first person that comes to mind immediately has been Caitlin Hardy.
Yes.
So she is also a Kongsberg alum and has now spun up a very successful consulting business, and she's been just a great sounding board, a great person to bounce ideas off of. But she's been a huge cheerleader, and it's been a lot of fun just chatting about like what it's like to be a woman in this space in general, and the personalities and politics that we have to deal with, and it was kind of funny because I felt like we gravitated to each other when we first met in terms of like, oh God, somebody else, it's great. And
Yeah,
so she's been just a huge one of the bright spots of folks that we've met in 2025.
agree. I know her, and I think she's a good example of womanity instead
Yeah,
of
yeah.
humanity. Like
And
she
she
is.
introduced us, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one who introduces, and she has been a great support to me and to Tool and to the whole maritime industry, from the different hats she wears, and but she keeps being um, a very kind woman,
Yeah.
even though whatever hat she's wearing. And that's something very beautiful of her, that I admire as a friend. So, yeah, I'm super happy that she's on your top list.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other
It's
women that you would like to highlight?
Um, not a founder in the traditional sense, but one of our investors, Caroline Lewis, who's the managing partner of the Rogue Women's Fund, has been a huge catalyst for us. Her fund doesn't typically invest in defense tech and deep tech. So we were very much kind of outside their usual portfolio, but she was so supportive of what we were doing and took the time to really learn our story and learn about why this mattered. And that ended up being just a tremendous catalyst for raising our first round. And she continues to be a tremendous mentor and champion of women. And between Caroline and Caitlin and others that I've had the pleasure of working with, one of the things that always stands out to me is women who are always elevating other women when they're not in the room, and who are always making connections, and who are never finding the negative. They're always finding ways to champion and elevate anybody. And that's something that I think we need so much more of in the space and in general.
Totally. Yeah, totally. It's an energy that we need to push forward and kind of ignite in ourselves and in others. And I think it's happening, even though our imposter syndromes and whatever it is there and it's available. It's just that we need to talk and figure out how can we help each other. So another question, and I think is my last, is if you could advise if you think about yourself as a young talent entering the industry, would you have what would you have considered differently, or what would you advise to this kind of new generation in terms of the mindset or skills, or what would you say to the young generation?
Skills, learn to code. I was a scientist, and I got to where I had all my opportunities through being able to write software as well. But really, I think it's more, you don't have to put up with people's crap, and you don't have to make yourself small. And I used to be non-confrontational to a tremendous fault. I was always trying to, make myself small, to not disrupt others, not, make waves. And I feel like there was probably a breaking point for me at Nike, where, there was so much political stuff happening, and it's all the big giant corporate stuff. And I was finally, you know what? No, I'm not doing this anymore. Here's what I really think, and here's what we really need to do. And my whole trajectory changed after that, and people started to listen. And it's okay to not be liked, but you'll still be respected. And, don't try and make yourself small. And I think that would be what I would tell my 20-year-old self, my 15-year-old self, my 30-year-old self. Take as much space as you need to.
Yeah, I love that. Take as much space as you need to. And kind of trust your authenticity, right? Like that's part of the essence, and it's part of the uniqueness. So I think it's a good advice for yourself as a young, or to others that are coming, that I hope there's more women like you and me and others kind of joining this fantastic industry that has so much to offer, but also it has a magnificent need of the women kind of mindset moving forward. So it's so nice to talk to you and to meet you. And if you have any other thing to add.
I always feel like there's such a pressure to have something profound, but I think it's take a risk, and that risk might not be what you think it should look like in terms of like, oh, go quit your job and start a business, but talk to somebody you're nervous to talk to, reach out to somebody you would love to have as a mentor, brainstorm an idea with somebody, step outside of your comfort zone just a little bit, and I think great things can happen.
Yeah, agree. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to connect, and we will follow up. And to everybody listening to us, thank you so much for your time, and I see you next time, Wave Makers. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. You can stay there if you want. Are you okay?
Do I leave? Do I stay?
No, you just wanted to say thank you. We're off.
Okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
uh,
This is great.
yeah, it's fun, no?
It's fun. Yeah. Hopefully my voice wasn't shaking. I was nervous.
Yeah, I think it's we're trying to make it as laid back as possible, and like we would love to get to know all of you around the world, but if we can have these kind of connections even virtually, and yeah, just use the platform and yeah, be in
Excellent.
touch if anything. I will also keep my ears and radar. I work with Kongsberg Discovery, so I know them. That's how I met Caitlin.
Yeah.
And we had a great time there. But yeah, we end up doing different things. And I met her already twice here in Norway after that. But yeah, there's so much
Yes.
to do, and if you ever come to Norway, let us know.
Very likely in 2025 or 2026 rather, both through the NATO Diana programs, but like we're in active talks with Kongsberg. We've worked with Kongsberg for many years when we were at QPS. But I'm hoping that we're gonna turn those talks into signed partnership agreements,
Yes.
which will entail Norway, and it'd be great to connect in person.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Just keep us posted. And
Absolutely.
with regards to this podcast, I will work on it, and I will send it to you for approval. And if you have any changes, adjustments, whatever, but it normally comes as as a YouTube, a Spotify, and also an article, a LinkedIn thing. Yeah, but if you think also, if you have a special request on something, like I can get you magic clips or certain abstracts or whatever, so it's super easy to do those things. But yeah, are you in the platform already in Tool?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, okay. To is it okay if I tag you when we have the article, and so
Absolutely. That'd
people
be great.
also can contact you? And yeah, but
Awesome.
yeah, thank you so much for your time,
Thank you.
Victoria.
This was fun.
And I
Looking
see you
forward to
around.
staying in touch.
The same.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.